Tonight I'm gonna do what I should have done.
What you gonna say? What?
But listen, I gotta get going. Make a few stops and shit. I just went to go see my mom. Came straight here.
All right, man.
I was there for when I daddy kicked her out the way she is.
It'd be better to maybe frame somebody with a lower profile. I mean somebody who's completely off the radar. No family, no friends, no job. Somebody nobody would miss. What about Kanan?
Is Kanan Stark. He has no known surviving next of kin. His son Sean was murdered.
Welcome back, Top Notch Gang, to another video. We're once again here in the aftermath of season 4 of Raising Kanan, and we're here to focus on the Thomas family and mainly their debts in season 5 of Raising Kanan and leading into Power Origin. Now, listen, disclaimer, because I know people already run into the comments. I'm going to be talking about and breaking down every clip we hear and see about Kanan, Jukebox, their family from the original Power, to talk about their debts, or if they're in jail, where did they end up by the end of Raising Kanan, with season 5 being the last season. And we already got interviews from Deadline talking to Patina Miller and Sasha Penn, them trying to confirm she's dead, could be lying because they don't want to spoil what's coming next. We're gonna go ahead and break down everything that's gonna take place leading into Power Origins. The chessboard, it's currently packed right now with all the Thomas family still being alive. Unique here, Snaps and Pops still in the picture, as well as now Breeze being introduced. We still have the war between Phil Russo and Stefano. So it's so many players currently in the field that this last season is going to be chaos. And from the sneak peeks, the teasers, and everything we heard from the original Power, once again, like I said, I think we're going to be able to piece together the possible debts of the Thomas family. So you guys can leave a like, comment, subscribe, let me know what other videos you want to see me talk about, break down which characters and everything like that. Give me your thoughts and your predictions, your interpretations of these conversations from the original Power, because I'm going to talk about how they could go both ways. But let's go ahead and get right into it. Now, we obviously got to start off with Rock, because she's going to be the most controversial. Now, hear me out. For multiple reasons, we're starting off with Rock. One, obviously, the ending we just got with Kanan pulling up on her. We hear the trigger going off, and everyone's asking if she's dead or alive. Two, all the clues we've heard about Kanan and his family, his mom, from the original Power. Some of them have to do with his entire family, but we're going to use it in Rock's case as well. And of course, three, the Deadline interview that I use. So, first off, we know the clip that everyone talks about and be seeing is the one of Kanan when he gets out of jail. He goes and visits Ghost, and he tells him, this is basically the second place I came to. Only thing I went to do before this is go see my mom.
But listen, I gotta get going. Make a few stops and shit. I just went to go see my mom. Came straight here.
All right, man.
So a lot of people is taking this as hints that Rock is still alive, but there are people saying that if she is alive, this could mean she's in jail, or there's people saying that if she's dead, this could mean her grave as well. Now, there's two other major clues within OG Power that kind of supports the theory that she's more than likely dead, and he could have meant a grave. We seen characters visit graves all the time, and those two major clues happen at the same time when one, Tariq, Tasha, and Angela are planning to frame Kanan for the murder of Ray Ray to get Tariq in the clear, and they put the gun in his car and everything like that. Tasha goes to Ghost and tells him basically they need to pin it on someone who has no friends, no families, no ties, no job, no connection, any of that.
It'd be better to maybe frame somebody with a lower profile. I mean somebody who's completely off the radar. No family, no friends, no job. Somebody nobody would miss. What about Kanan?
And obviously when she said that, Kanan is the name that came to mind. That's who she wanted dependent on. So she was basically saying that he has no one to fall back on. And obviously we know within the show he killed the Jukebox and a Sean. That was his two closest family members. But now she's saying he basically has no one else. This kind of gets reiterated when Kanan actually does die. He gets into a shootout with the cops, ends up trying to drive away, passing out, and later when they show on the news, they say he has no known surviving next of kin.
Is Kanan Stark. He has no known surviving next of kin. his son Sean was murdered.
Now listen, people are trying to say that next of kin only mean children. No, it means next closest living family member, anybody to your family that is alive, aunt, uncle, cousin, nephew, whatever. So that's major clues that kind of contradict what they said about him earlier in the season. Now I'll even be fair, Kanan's last name is Stark. It isn't Thomas like a Jukebox, a Lou, a Rock, or a Marvin. And even Jukebox in the original Power goes on to change her last name. We're going to talk about that later when we get to the Marvin section of the video. But it's very well that because his last name is different, they didn't find a connection with him and everyone else. But that just doesn't make sense or seem likely either. So this kind of can contradict the statement earlier about him going to see his mom, and it also could reiterate the point that Tasha was making, that he doesn't have any friends or family. And now of course we get the scene of him pulling up to Rock's house and trying to take her out. With this, we get the Deadline interview and Sasha Penn and Patina Miller kind of confirming that she is dead. Now this once again doesn't necessarily mean it's true. We're going to read off what the questions were and what answers they gave, but they could be trying to protect and not reveal what's actually going to take place going into season 5, which makes a lot of sense. So let's go ahead and read some of them. One question Deadline asks is, Patina, do you think in the moments before Rock dies she had any regrets? Miller responds with, we all know the hope she had for her son from the very first episode of the series. I think there are tons of regrets. Their entire life flashes before her eyes, and she thinks of the different times when she could have been a better mother. But in this world where she comes from, she was mothering in the best way she knew how. Being in the street, she's in a dangerous game. I think there's a lot of guilt. Maybe she could have been better for him and made better choices. What I tried to do in the last scene was the acceptance of this is my fate, and if it has to happen, if he's gonna do it, he has to do it. Now you obviously see they're throwing in that F word. We're gonna see in some of Sasha Penn's responses as well that he made sure to throw in that F. For example, in this question right here asked by Deadline, said the show thus far has been centered around the tumultuous mother-son relationship between Rock and Kanan. How will the events of season 4 affect the storyline in season 5? Sasha Penn responds with, one of the things we talk about a lot, both of Raising Kanan and also Power in general, is the existence of characters by proxy. This means that their presence is felt even if they aren't in the physical sense. So to speak, Rock has left an incredible mark on the family. So if she's not there, we'll still feel her presence if we don't see her, and that's how we do it. Deadline responds with, Patina, why did it have to be Kanan to take Rock out? She said, since we started the show, it's always been about the two of them. I mean, come on, like Sasha said, it is power. Nobody's safe. We've watched these two characters go on their journeys together, their separate journeys, and so for the ending to be in this way, it's bittersweet. It's sad, but it is what it's supposed to be. And how cool to shape and craft a character and tell a story and have it end like it did. It's an explosive ending. And last but not least, Deadline, is there something that needed to happen to take Kanan to the next level? He says, I don't know if it needed to happen. I feel like it's sort of the organic next step for him to take based on where he's been and where he's going. If you look at who Kanan is in Power, this feels like a very logical and sensible way for this season to end and for us to continue the story. Having said that, that scene was a decision I labored over extensively, and it kept me awake at night. I think the season ended the way it was supposed to be, and the next one starts the way it was supposed to as well. Deadline responds with, if she really is there, the loss, will it be felt far and wide behind Kanan and the South Side, right? He says, I always say that the sun and everyone orbits around her. Sometimes the sun is hot and sometimes the sun is cold, depending on the season. Sometimes you're further away from the sun, so it feels colder. I think that's part of the fun and exploration of the story as we continue, what it means when a family changes and what that looks like. I think ultimately we tell a story that is complete. While there may be some story points from Power that are still lingering out there in terms of the story of Raising Kanan, yeah, of course, but it's a full story that we're gonna tell by the end of the season for sure. So all this kind of just combines to say, we see they're throwing in a lot of ifs, but they're saying that this is the way the story was supposed to go. It's the logical next step. It makes sense. Patina Miller talking about accepting her fate. So a lot of this all just leans towards her actually being taken out by Kanan. And even if necessarily Kanan didn't take her out, which I'm kind of still leaning towards, I still think Rock has a possibility of dying in the future. But I feel like if he was going to kill her, they could have just showed it at the end. But who knows? Maybe maybe beginning of season 5 wearing the funeral. But nonetheless, I think after breaking down all this evidence and clips, the scene that people go off of him visiting her isn't enough, because there's too much other statements and evidence that contradict her being alive. So it's a very strong possibility that she is dead. I'm not saying it's 100% confirmed, but for people to act like you can't think or say she's dead with all this other evidence, I just think it's not true. So definitely she's one of the Thomas family members in danger of being taken out and leading into Power Origins, or maybe before Power Origins even ever comes. Next up, we gotta of course talk about the death of Marvin. He's more important than Lou. Well, I don't mean it like that, but obviously he has a connection to Jukebox, who we did see in the original Power. But his death is kind of almost like a for sure thing, or feels like a for sure thing as well, because obviously the clips I mentioned earlier, Tasha saying he has no friends or family, as well as the news station saying he has no known surviving next of kin. I'll play that right quick to get it out the way.
It'd be better to maybe frame somebody with a lower profile. I mean, somebody who's completely off the radar. No family, no friends, no job. Somebody nobody would miss. What about Kanan?
Is Kanan Stark. He has no known surviving next of kin. His son Sean was murdered.
But also clues, hints, and I feel like foreshadowing that they're currently doing within Raising Kanan to show something tragic coming for Marvin. And we already see teasers of that possibility in season 5 of Raising Kanan. So what we hear specifically from Jukebox in the last episode of season 4 is Aisha asking her why she's still around, what's here for her to stay in Queens and New York and everything like that. And she's talking about Marvin. He's always been there for her, that she's not gonna leave him no matter what.
There's nothing for you in New York. You've said that like a million times. My father's here. My dad's the most stubborn nigga I know, and he changed for me. He needs me, Aisha. My dad didn't leave me. I can't leave him. Now I know this is where I'm supposed to be.
And I felt like when they were saying this, I thought they were setting him up to die within that episode. So I was getting scared. But obviously, of course, we know now that didn't happen. But Jukebox has lost so much over the course of her entire life. Obviously, her girlfriend, Nicole, very early on, that made her get into a fight with Marvin and caused her to go live with Rock. We didn't know she ended up losing her mother as well. And even someone like Detective Burke, who looked out for her consistently. But in the new trailer for season 5, we see Jukebox breaking down, crying in the car, and people was like, damn, some crazy had to have happened for this scene to take place. A lot of people are believing it to be Marvin. A lot of people think that this is her last straw before she's fully into the game. We already see her taking this dark path and turn. Ever since she got her first kill, she has been slowly slipping. When she went on a mission with Kanan to get information about Fame at the park, we saw how she was acting. We saw when she was getting catcalled by the guys, she was ready to pull out her gun and shoot them. We even saw when she pulled up on her seat brother, he got touchy-feely and she pistol whipped him. So she's been slowly growing into the game, and it looks like she's about to kick that door all the way down. I think Marvin is the last straw to that. Now, another quote or scene from the original Power that a lot of people like to talk about, and it's when Kanan got into the fight with Ghost, obviously, and he got burned, and he went to live with Jukebox for a while. She was trying to figure out what happened to him, and her girlfriend asked Kanan why Jukebox let him stay with her, because that's kind of surprising. She don't let nobody do that. And he said, I was there for her when her father kicked her out for the way she was.
I was there for her when her daddy kicked her out for the way she is.
Now, obviously, we know, or we could take it as word as is, that he was referencing when her and Marvin got into that fight after Nicole's dead and she went to live with Rock, as I just mentioned earlier. But a lot of people think that pause he took is because the death of Marvin is what brought them closer together. It's what he meant to say when he said he was there for her, and he just didn't want to tell her girlfriend any information. He was consistently trying not to do that. He didn't even want to slip up and tell her Ghost's name, but he made a mistake and did that. So a lot of people think Marvin did actually die, and if you look closely in the teaser scene where we see Jukebox in the car crying, we see somebody's hand on her shoulder or arm or leg or something. They're consoling her. A lot of people take this to be Kanan, and I think it makes a lot of sense. They've been growing as close as ever throughout the course of season 4. We know she's going to have a role to play in book origins. Obviously, a Ghost and Tommy knew who she was. Kanan offered for them to be business partners and work together with one another. So it's set up for her or a Marvin to be taken out, and that be her last straw that completely makes her go sideways. Maybe it helps on her path to becoming a cop, who knows? Because once again, I mentioned earlier in this video, we know that she goes on to change her last name from Thomas to Ganner. This maybe when she moves to DC, she becomes a cop. She wants to separate from that life and everything like that. A lot of people think the Marvin's death is what sparks all this, and I think that conversation with Aisha was very important, and it's foreshadowing something tragic for our boy Marvin. And that just leaves our boy Lulu. Now, Lou, I thought it was a foregone conclusion, or it was foreshadowed that he was gonna be the Ghost parallel in this show, as far as 1 foot in, 1 foot out, wanting so badly to leave the game and ultimately getting caught up in it because of your family, your friends, everyone you're surrounded with, that it inevitably just catches up to you. Now, this doesn't mean, and I want to say this again because people keep saying that Lou is not Ghost's dad. Please stop saying it. Lou is not Ghost's dad. I know a lot of people like to point it out because of the alcoholism, everything like that. He's not Ghost's dad, bro. We're gonna see Ghost's dad, his backstory in Origins because of his death, and I believe Kanan and Breeze has something to do with it. But I'm gonna make a whole separate video on that, so you guys be prepared to see it. But Lou is not Ghost's dad. Now, as far as him being in and out the game, we finally see he decided that he's all the way in. Told Rock he's a Dragon Slayer, that he accept the D-Wiz kill, the scrap kill, that it was the right thing to do. He understood it. He was telling Kanan how he's a man, he got to accept all of the decisions he make, he just can't blame it on Rock, and he's fully in the game now. So he's not doing a 1 foot in, 1 foot out, but once he re-entered, it's only one way out this time, and that's with a bullet. There's a scene from the original Power where we go over here, Kanan telling Tariq that he used to sell on his block, he used to sell Fat Alberts to or with his uncles, or from his uncles. I'll play the scene.
Started out hustling these streets after school when I was 11. Started out selling Fat Alberts to my uncles.
How'd you meet my dad?
He was in the game with me, kid. He a D-boy from way back.
Sound like he says to his uncle. So we don't know Lou to ever do drugs, and Marvin, Rock said he was a crackhead back in the day, but we didn't see him do nothing like that since. But if he's saying to and not with or working under them or anything like that, he also said he was 11 when he started, when we know that wasn't the case either, when he was like 14, 15, already in high school in the very first episode, and when he went and shot Buck 20, he just got into the game. So we know that wasn't true as well. So this scene could be null and void, and his uncles could be out the picture by now, because if he going to tell Tariq that him and Ghost worked on that block, they was D-boys, they came up together and everything like that.
Back in the days, me, Tommy, and your pops used to run this block. We was around your age.
So a lot of people think he said Ghost and them worked for his uncles, but that's not necessarily what he said. Once again, it sounds like he's saying they sold Fat Alberts to his uncles. He's saying that's how he started off, which we haven't seen yet in Raising Kanan. So if it's gonna come, maybe in season 5, we do see him and his boys running the block now. He's saying we getting paid, so he looks like he's in charge of what's ever going down. So that's something interesting to take a note of. A lot of people think that Ghost and Tommy and Kanan all worked under his uncles once Rock was out the picture, and that Kanan wasn't necessarily in charge with Breeze just yet. But I don't think that's the case, and I don't think that's what I understood from that scene specifically. But if it is, if it's gonna happen, it makes sense for it to be Lou in some way, shape, or form, because him and Kanan do got kind of the most understanding relationship with one another as far as how this game goes and the moves they make, how they both used to look at Rock. I guess Lou don't look at it like that anymore, But with Lou just re-entering the game, it is possible that he's gonna be around a little longer than a Marvin or a Rock, because he's basically just getting his feet wet again, but he's ready to make moves. And I think seeing what he's gonna do in the aftermath of a Rock and Marvin will be the most interesting of all, because he came up under them, the little brother, looking up to them. We know he lost his mom. We know how he felt about their dad, his vision, and that he was a creator, a musician, how he told Kanan, all of that. So losing Rock and Marvin, he'll have lost all the ties to his younger self. He was always looked at as the baby brother. This could truly turn him cold-hearted and into the streets more than ever before, even more than we're seeing right now. And I think that's the route they're gonna go. It is very possible Lou is the last Thomas sibling left standing, but I don't think that exits him out the picture as far as not getting killed or going away or anything like that. Overall, that's it for this video. You guys can let me know, based off everything I laid out for you, if you believe a Marvin, a Rock, a Lou, are they gonna die? I'm not saying it's necessarily 100% confirmed, but I'm saying to the people who act like something that was said in the original Power can be changed, or they aren't different statements that contradict that, different foreshadowing and scenes we're seeing in Raising Kanan that we didn't hear about or wasn't talked about in that way in the original Power, I think that's crazy to look at it that way. I think everything and everyone is on the table. The fact that obviously they didn't know they were going to make Raising Kanan, they didn't know how big Power was going to be, that if they felt like they needed to retcon or change something to make the Raising Kanan story hit different, I think they would do it. Also for the simple fact that if Rock is taken out going in season 5, then definitely anything said in OG Power could be out the window, or we could still anticipate seeing it. Like I said, everything goes both ways, so you can let me know down below, based off everything I laid out, which side you're on, who dies and everything like that. As usual though, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.